Linux job interview, Linux job interview questions, episode 2. Let's ramp this up a little bit. You know the drill. Let's lose no much more time and go right to it. So, other questions that I'm sure that you might get asked. Again, this is going to ramp up in difficulty. Like, subscribe, and hype to get notified all about it and follow the new episodes. Question number 12. What command creates a directory? I know for the eagle guide of you and the people with high anxiety, difficulty is going to ramp up, okay? What command creates a directory? Use the mkdir command to create a directory. Simple enough, right? But even these simple questions can get you some decent points or whatever rating or whatever in your job interview. So take this and use this to your advantage. For some of you, they are very easy. For some of you, they are not. Let's include everybody here so that you can improve your career and get that job you actually dream about for so long. If you're watching this in the short form, come and check it out, long form video, and I'll see you there. For long form peeps, here we go. Next question right now. Whoops, right now. So list a few commands. A few. I know that many times, and it's very frequent for things to be possible to do things in many different ways. But this is kind of the starting point. If you want to pick this up and do your own approach and your own flavor into this, you are welcome to. And also comment down below. List a few commands that can be used in network-related scenarios. All right. So this is my suggestions. If you have any that are also valid, please include them in your job interviews. But these ones will get you there for sure. Netstat displays network connections and TCP ADP sessions. So this is a good way to show that you know a little bit more in depth about these commands. TCP dump captures, analyzes network traffic and displays it live in real time. So TCP dump, it's very nice because you can actually see live what's happening. I know we have things like Wireshark, for example, that can also be useful in many situations. But TCP dump will get you there. Just know that Wireshark, it's a graphical interface that can also get some really nice information regarding all of this. So if you want to include Wireshark in your interview, you're also welcome to. It also works fine. Ping. Classical ping. It's nice to throw here a few classics. You know what I mean. Some old-time favorites. Ping. It works. Just be careful that ping uses for the most part the ICMP protocol, which means that ICMP quite often at times it's can be blocked in the firewalls, which means that ping may not work every single time, but it's a very good starting point to test our layer 3 connectivity, and it's actually good to start some type of troubleshooting. Usually when something less right is occurring, ping, it's a good starting point. I will not say that ping will be a good go all be all and everything is sorted and everything is okay. With ping, you can ping, it's a good starting point and sometimes also the end point. The trace route, so trace route will show you step by step the path you are going from A to B in terms of showing all the network nodes, especially layer 3 nodes, network nodes, routers, and all of that. Again, trace route is not a win-all be-all. It's not going to be kind of the savior of the world here. Some hops will not show up because ICMP blocks. There are caveats to this, but traceroute is also a good tool to include in this question. And MTR, it's a live interactive alternative to traceroute. Or you have traceroute, you have traceroute, you have many options here. But MTR will give you a visual representation of what's going on. So trace MTR, if you don't know MTR, you actually should install it and check it out. So MTR, it's a good way to get a visual representation of what hops you are going through, and it's live, which means that it's going to get automatically refreshed. You don't have to run traceroute multiple times. You just do MTR, and it auto refreshes the output and giving you new information. I find it quite useful, or at least for me personally, because Sometimes I'm doing some troubleshooting. So for example, I have a screen with MTR running, things are just occurring and they're getting refreshed. And on the other screen, I'm doing my troubleshooting steps, making some changes, and I don't have to run traceroute again. I just watch the automatic refresh of MTR. So I just, okay, it's the same thing. But again, try it out yourself first and see if it suits your needs. But the question is, list a few commands that can be used in network-related scenarios. These all will fit in, include your own if you wish. How to combine two text files into one, also a classical question. For example, you have 3 lines in file A, files in file B. How can you, for two text files that you want to, I don't want to use a specific word, but you have 2 text files that you want to combine into one, and combining means concatenate. That's what cat does. Cat concatenates files, and cat will just concatenate, especially text files, will pick up in 2 text files and combine it into a single file. So this will concatenate. Holy shit, concatenate. So cat will concatenate file A to file B into a single file. Answer done, everybody's happy. Carry on. What is the use case for the echo command or echo command? Some people say echo, some people say echo. I say echo because that's a CH. That's besides the point. So the answer is the echo command is used to display a text or output string to the screen. So by default, it outputs to the screen. Hang on, you keyboard warriors, hang on. By default, it outputs to the screen, okay? To the display or the monitor, the screen, whatever. By default, goes to the screen. I know you can redirect stuff, and that's going to be asked next question. But if they ask you this, what is the main use case for the echo command? Well, basically, it outputs whatever you type to the screen by default. Answer given. Everybody's happy. Carry on. What does the following command do? Echo, question mark, no, quotes, like, subscribe, and hype. See what I did there? Like, subscribe, and hype. It really helps. All right. So like, subscribe, and hype to file A or whatever name. Here you can just, do whatever you want here. So it's going to redirect. So if I do only this, it will put to the screen. If I do this with a symbol, the bigger than, it will just put everything into file A. And like you know, one bigger than, it's going to overwrite the file. It's going to overwrite. This file is going to get overwritten every time you write this. If you do bigger than, it's going to append or add to the file. So basically, that's what it's said here. So if I only do this version, if I only do this approach to the command, it's going to overwrite a new file with that content. If you do bigger than, it's going to append. Jesus, English. Question 17. When do you log in? I can't speak today. When you log in, you get the $sign prompt. What does this mean? For the most part, okay, it means that he's a regular user. Okay, which means if you see this guy here, you are logged in with a regular user. If you see this, you will see that for the root user. For the most part, okay. As you know, the Linux terminal is it's very highly customizable. It's very customizable, which means that sometimes things are not as they are by default, okay. So for the most part, this is what you see: $, regular user, root, hashtag, whatever it's called right now, it is for the root user, okay. So the cardinal sign, the hashtag, some people call it one thing, some people call it another thing. So $regular user, hashtag means root. For the most part, there may be exceptions, of course, but in a job interview, this is what you wanted to hear. Good to go. Go next. Explain the difference between grep and egrep. Yeah, I heard this a couple of times. People reporting that some recruiters ask this. I don't see the big relevance on this, but that's just my opinion, all right? So basically, grep is kind of the standard grep utility to find patterns in text files. I use grep for the most part, and I'm happy with it. But sometimes I use egrep -f for more extended options. But for the most part, I'm right happy with just the grep standard stuff. But that's just my needs. People's needs that are different depending on the situation, of course. egrep supports more extended expressions. So if you never use egrep, I don't use egrep all that much. For the most part, I use mostly grep. But if they want to ask you on this context, you just say, okay, grep is the standard stuff, egrep is the extended stuff. Good to go. You're ready to go. Of course, it's also useful to have a couple of practical examples in your pocket if they, by any reason, ask you, show me that. But that's for another video. What is the port number for DNS, NTP, and NFS? Add whatever port numbers here. DNS 53, TCP, NTP 123 UDP, NFS 111, port mapper 294. Okay, so add whatever protocol you want here. So you really need to be aware of the most standard Linux network ports. I'm going to compile a document and I'm going to share with you guys for you guys to access it. Like, subscribe, and hype to get access to that file. Later on in a later video, I will tell you guys where you can get them. I'm preparing a website with all this stuff, some free stuff, some stuff that it's more extended for you guys to buy. Just symbolic stuff, just to keep the channel running, okay? But like, subscribe, and hype, you get notified of the contents of that site I'm going to create, where you can access some free stuff and some paid stuff. This is just to get the channel running and put some food on the table. You guys can understand that, okay? And also, I'm preparing a version of this video series for AWS. I'm not sure if I'm going to create a video series for AWS or I'm just going to give access to you guys to the PDF file. I'm still debating, but like, subscribe, and hype, and get notified. 20, what is the configuration file for the named service or the DNS? So I use named here because it's a very common DNS flavor. So if they ask you for named, it's just typically named.conf on the etc folder. Whatever they ask you, usually it's on the etc folder. Something.conf is typically you get away with that. So in this case, for the named.conf, typically on the etc folder or etc folder for the most part. Some config files are not on the etc folder, but for the most part, they are on the etc folder. And I think it's the last one for today. Like, subscribe, and hype to get notified for episode 3. How many new directories will be created after running the following command? mkdir squarely brackets a.c a.3, and it's going to create, I think I missed a dot there. Never mind, you get the idea. 9 directories will be created: A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. So basically it's going to go through A to C, 1, 2, 3. So A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. That's what they're going to create. So they just want to test you out if you understand those expressions expansion. And basically it's going to represent A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3, and those two combined. So in total, it's going to create 9 files. So if they ask you something like this, just say 9. If they add another section there, just add to that and you should be okay and good to go. Once again, like, subscribe, and hype. It will help to get all these videos out there to everybody who needs them. This is episode 2 of job interview questions for Linux administrators or Linux, whatever you want to call it here. And I'm going to release much more. Like, subscribe, and hype. I'm also preparing an AWS version. Not sure if I'm going to use it on a video series because then it just will get way too repetitive on my channel. But I will release that document on my future being developed website, where I'm going to release free stuff for you to get as a reference, and also some paid stuff to pay the bills and put some food on the table. And you can get most of it for free anyways. Like, subscribe, and help, it will help. And I'll see you in the next one.